creating a better world is a matter of small actions on daily basis. The future is India, Arab countries, is China. That is where I see a bright future. A person does not help others because of religion or because of morality. At least is motivated by money.
Do you want to start a metaverse company? Or are you looking for a job in metaverse field? The field of Web3 is potentially new and booming. To have a conclusive idea of what you want to do with metaverse, let me introduce you to Giorgio Torre. With 10 years of international successful hands-on experience with project management, business making, and consulting. He speaks more than 8 languages, and also he is an international public speaker in blockchain, Web3, metaverse, and data science. So stick with us and enjoy the podcast filled with knowledge. Kaifa halakum. I don't know if I'm saying
Oh,
it.
كيف حالك? كيف حالك? Oh, alhamdulillah. So you
Okay.
speak also Arabic?
No. I just learned it for you, just to, greet
Oh,
you. That's all.
thank you. Appreciate. Well,
And
actually, I'm from Italy, but I reside in
okay.
Qatar.
You have I saw your bio and it looks brilliant about the languages you've learned
Thank
and
you.
the diverse jobs you've done and different sets of companies you worked with. I mean, there was a lot of, I was itching to talk to you about a lot of things. And then there's metaverse, Web3, blockchain. I don't think so. One podcast would be enough to get that whole experience level of you.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate, and thank you for thinking of me. And it's really a pleasure. I've been following your podcast before, so very high quality. I really have to say, very high quality, different from the others. So you definitely you can be noticed for this, for the quality not only of the topics and not only of the technical, but also the way you select your candidates is very brilliant. So very good job.
yeah, and I'd like to welcome you on the show. And I have been watching you closely. I, there were a lot of posts which you are. I love the fact that you are consistent with the post about metaverse, and I just saw you were talking about it in a event about cybersecurity, about the blockchain, you know. And I love people who know that it's important to educate the masses first. I mean, it's not, you can only make it mainstream while you're talking about it and happening. So starting with, I'd love to know your journey. I mean, I was seeing you started from Black Moon Studios, right? I mean, and then it is, and why I loved it because I am also having a brand called Groove NFT, which is a music oriented NFT brand, which I'm trying to build right now
Hmm.
for the musicians to have their own NFTs and a media channel where we are just making these musicians having they can play with their content. And also, I love the fact you started from that background, but then there are a lot of shifts happened. I think European Commission, then you went to Unicredit also, and then now you're with KPMG. So first of all, throw some light on your journey. How's it been?
Yeah, actually, my career, like my career, is a little bit what is my perspective of life in general. So I don't have fixed, clear points in life. So I like to learn, I like to get new experience, and I like to experience new perspectives from different angles. So for me, the idea of going through studying engineering and actually starting from a language and classical studies background, then going to university and studying engineering, and then going back, shifting to management, and then finance, and then technology, and then cyber, and then metaverse. So all of this is part of, I guess, a natural process of learning. So just to give you an overview, I started my first approach with Black Moon Studio, which is my first startup founded in the south of Italy. It was meant to be how can I say, a new disruptive way of of dealing with the business music. So it was initially a music label, then encapsulated more services for video making, graphics, and also marketing in an automatic way, and with kind of peer-to-peer marketing. So it was a little bit different from the landscape at the time. We were talking about the 2011, 2012. And then I started working in the management field. I remember my first job was in Milan, in the north of Italy. It was still fresh of graduation, and I had not so much experience. So it was my first impact also with the thematics like project management and so on. After that, I started also in the financial world, in the banking system. So I understood from inside how a bank works, and it was opening. It was a new window open on a new world. I remember also my first meeting in the banking. I felt like in a room full of high level professionals, and they could speak a language that I could not even understand. It was funny thing, it was Italian, was my same language, but it was full of terms that I could not even understand. So it took me a couple of months even to understand everything. The European Commission has been also parentheses more related to the startups, so the business and the startups, the creation of artificial intelligence based startups. And then eventually with more the management and business, first in Bahrain, in the Gulf, and then again to Qatar. So I somehow find the Gulf, the GCC, my second home. So if you ask me, where do you feel at home? Yeah, of course, Italy, but the Gulf is definitely my second home. So I feel like definitely at home here.
So you've been to the Gulf. How long has been that you shifted?
Yeah, paradoxically, I have been very few times compared to my overall timeline, because in Bahrain I've been for 7 months, about 7 months. In Qatar, this is my fourth month. So you would say, okay, maybe this guy's there since 10 years, but it's relatively small. And but I have a lot of friends here, so a lot of meaningful relationship developed here. So it's as I was mentioning, I consider now currently, to be frank and honest, Europe a beautiful museum. And when I say museum, is something projected to the past. The future is India, Arab countries, is China. That is where I see a bright future. Europe is in its historical descending phase, so you just have the affection, the historical affection for it. Other than this, I don't see so much future there.
Yeah, I mean the Asians have more population. That ways, the economy is going to rise now in Asia. And when you say India, or even India is growing so fast, we are in top 10 now, and GDP is growing at 8.5%. So, and a lot of startups forming, the ecosystem is booming like anything. There are a lot
Yeah,
of founders I speak to. I'm from Gurgaon. It's a tech hub. So when you go out, you meet these amazing people in India doing such a fantastic job. And also in a world of Web3, Metaverse, you have seen a lot of people raising funds for those kind of projects. What about Doha? What about Qatar? What's happening in blockchain space there?
so basically there is currently in Qatar there is an environment where you can feel strong potential, business potential, a lot of creativity, a lot of talented people, and big investors willing to invest in the new disruptive technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, Web3 related topics, and metaverse especially. Based on the current regulation, is not, let's say, crypto payments and crypto in general are not allowed by the central bank of Qatar. I believe, and this is my personal opinion, that in the future this might change, because somehow there is a market which is independent by the central bank regulations. So this is true all throughout Europe, United States, but in all the world in general. So I would say that the crypto-friendly countries are the first one to adapt to something that they cannot control in a way or in another. Qatar is a very you can feel a vibrant energy, especially now with the World Cup. You can feel there is a lot of energy and
Yeah.
desire to
Mm.
do, to create. And I daily speak with a lot of founders from you were mentioning India, from Bangalore is
Wow. Yeah.
I believe now is the new, the crypto valley. We can say there is no competition, not even with the United States, because if we look at the numbers of startups and founders and capital that is raised from that areas, it's there is no comparison, again, even with the American Silicon Valley. So I believe that there is a strong also cooperation between the Indian genius and the Qatari capital and Qatari energy. So this combination is very interesting, and it's producing a lot of collaborations. Actually, a lot of them have already registered companies in the blockchain based and crypto based in Dubai or in Bahrain. So I see a lot of potential also with Qatar now and in the future. But unfortunately, cryptocurrencies are at the moment not allowed. So I assume that in the future something will change. But the blockchain is already here. So we have already examples of blockchain validation methods. We have the adoption of service tokens. We have NFTs. So we have something. Something's coming as well, and there is a lot of potential. Definitely, that's what I believe.
And when you talk about, uh, you know, like I think you are basically into that audits or taxes or cybersecurity, the space you've been in. So when you talk about those things, I mean, do you think any possible scenario while government tried to regulate it in Qatar,
Um,
cryptocurrencies?
so if there is any chance to be regulated soon, anytime soon, I believe that I will be honest with you, and this is again my personal projection. I believe that metaverse will be a door opener for this, so it will be somehow a game changer, because with metaverse and with the hype that metaverse is bringing, crypto will somehow naturally be brought. But again, I would be very careful also with the statement, because after all, we are talking about some flows of money on the real part of real economies that are converted into digital assets. So on this, I would be careful with predictions, but I would say that if it's happening anytime soon, a good contribution would come from the hype generated by the metaverse. And I can tell you that the metaverse is not just a concept anymore, but it's here. So companies are spending huge money for projects to implement their metaverse strategies, because they like or not, now is the new way of using internet, and indicates us what is the change in terms of customer behavior. And the only surviving companies are the ones who are good in adapting themselves to the new customer behavior, and who, let's say, how fast and how good they are in intercepting these new trends. So that's part of the game after all.
And when you talk about metaverse, the hype and everything, I also see a lot of funds being raised in India of a lot of things related to NFTs and metaverse. But there are a lot of things which are, it's kind of an ever evolving tech. There is uniformity at play, then there is biometric hacking at play when you talk about cybersecurity in metaverse, or when you talk about interoperability. So I feel there's still a lot of scenarios, a lot of checkpoints to be ticked. But yeah,
Sure.
when this ever evolving tech generates that amount of, I feel, when people are able to easily understand, or employees or the companies make sure that they have to do something in metaverse. I mean, like, if your company tells you that one meeting has to be in metaverse this week, or let's say there is Gigi Hadid, a model who would wear Gucci top in a metaverse and only wear there. If you want to
Mhm.
see, you have to go to this metaverse. Once these kind of things starts to happen, obviously crypto will play a different role in it, because that's how it can trigger.
Yeah.
Plus, I feel, if you are working, I've been reading about web3, or like not web3, you'll say cryptocurrencies from 2016. I've been following, I have traded a lot, I have profited, I have lost, I have bought NFTs, I've sold NFTs, I've made NFT projects. I feel it's just about that, it's the time play, the patience play, where you can, when you are involving yourself to educate the masses while the market is down, while nobody's talking about, if you have the belief and you're talking about it, and the brands, you see, the Gucci just accepted ApeCoin, so these will keep coming, so I
Sure.
feel it'll take its own way. But hopefully metaverse is a game changer for cryptocurrencies. I hope so.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. We also have to remind ourselves that all of this is part of the Web3. In general, I use this formula to describe what is Web3, because metaverse by itself seems is oftenly confused merely with VR, AR, or with Web3. So
Yep.
we are talking
Yep.
about two different things. So let's say what I used to define is the Internet 3.0 equation, because also when we see Web3, we are still committing a technical mistake, because there is a difference between web and internet. So internet is everything that allows basically web, and so we can more properly talk about internet 3.0, which is an arriving point. So we are currently, we would say, an internet £2.25 or £2.5. We are not at an internet 3.0. And in the middle, what we have, what are the components of the internet 3.0? We have definitely artificial intelligence and customer tailored content and semantic web, which means that now the interaction between the person, the machine, is not only a click, not only a touch, not only the voice, but it's something that can read more complex sentences and more complex thoughts and can address you based on your previous preferences. So we have already big techs experimenting this, even though we don't have a final and consolidated version. A second component of the internet 3.0 is composed, of course, by the user, what I call the user experience and the user interface 3.0, and that's what I call Metaverse. So Metaverse is a component of Web3, which is the mere, how can I say, the mere user interface in a 3D space, in a new reality, where instead of imaging, think about it, instead of clicking, now we are opening this chat. I'm going to close the chat, I'm going to open it by clicking, but in the future it would be through the Metaverse in the context of Internet 3.0, moving my body. So we have now a physical interaction, which is not
We
more
can feel each other.
Yeah, it's not more in a bidimensional screen, but is now in your reality, the perceived reality. And then, of course, you have other components that unlock all of this. So a metaverse cannot be imaged. Of course, the decentralization is the blockchain, which does not necessarily mean crypto, but is definitely a part of it. But I would say that there are criticalities, as you were mentioning, regarding the metaverse. So we are not still there. We need hardware and software be more efficient. We need more computational power in our devices. I know that in 2023, a new smartphone will be launched. It will be the first metaverse-enabled phone. We need more chips. We need more affordable smart glasses. We need more, how can I say, more decent devices. So we are not still there. So now we have indicated the path. This is what the future is going to look like. We're going to working, and all these founders also working in the metaverse. I talk with a lot of them. Thousands of people have started developing metaverses, and they keep repeating the same questions. And I always say, guys, this is my response, and never changes. They come with good ideas, with good environments when they can collaborate, which is like Figma, but in a metaverse-ish way. And I always repeat, there is something that is missing, because all of them have committed the same mistake. The mistake is the following: unless we don't have hyper-realistic digital humans or meta-humans integrated in the metaverse, and unless I cannot recognize you from the metaverse, for example, I'm in the metaverse, I can see Avtarit is there, and I can see you because your digital replica is there. Unless we don't reach that point, all the metaverses are going to look like video game, PlayStation 2 like video games, which are not providing any concrete added value. This is not only for the experience, but also to differentiate yourself. So, but that's good, because in general, when we see the historical evolution of the market, we have the experimentation phase, right? So everyone tries something different, with the risk then after a while everyone is doing the same thing. But then comes the idea that changes the game historically, and then everyone keeps following this, and these are the driver of the changing. So every time we have a disruptor, everyone will follow them. So we are not in that phase yet, but I expect that, frankly speaking, I'm following Nvidia and I'm following other big techs who are working on the MetaHumans, and I would say that between 7 and 9 years we'll be able to have the first serious concept of metaverse. Seems a lot of time, but if we think on how many technologies we need to bring inside, is a lot. But, and I will conclude also this part, is we have also challenges, legal challenges, but also privacy challenges, because it's true that with the blockchain we are more secure, especially in a private life. But the problem is, in 9 years we are going to have also a huge development of quantum computing. Quantum computing is going to change the rules of brute force. So basically, with that computational power, you can break any password, even the blockchain. So the point is, how do we imagine the future, and how ready we are to avoid these episodes? That is the question that I would pose to all the policymakers and also the market players.
That's a really valid point in the end. I mean, if quantum computing, I saw this video about the China and US trying to figure out and make that supercomputer power going on. US
Yeah,
as well as China is forcing themselves to make that first supercomputer, for this quantum computing.
yeah,
Because if that happens, then again you are for a normal human being who's not at the powerful level, uh, he or she will still be not secured enough.
yeah.
So while we talk about this, how do you feel like how right now how cybersecurity is playing its way in metaverse? As for me, I feel there's a lot of challenges. You know, when when I mentioned interoperability, uniformity, biometric, So what do you think? Are people working in that space? You're talking to some people working in that space?
Yeah, currently there are. This is a very underestimated issue, and I'm happy you're raising this because almost no one talks about these issues. Now we have, in terms of interoperability, a lot of challenges, given the fact that some of these layers also communicate between IoT or wireless and so on. So we have different layers of security, especially when it comes to the metaverse. We are definitely adding complexity to the system. So there is a good thing, good news and a bad news. The good news is that we can keep dealing in terms of cybersecurity, to this technology in the same way we used to do with other separate technologies, but the aggregation and the mixing of all the combination of all these layers create a new concern regarding the security itself. So we need to approach and we need to come up with a regulation for all of that. And also, while we develop the metaverse, we shall be able also to develop a kind of security for the metaverse. This is absolutely missing. I haven't found this actually. That's a good idea for any startup. So we are providing an idea to any potential founder.
Yes,
So
just go
if,
out there and form this. This is the solution to
exactly,
your
exactly. You
dreams,
guys,
blockchain dreams.
yeah, you don't have competition yet, so no need for any competitor analysis. You can easily pitch investors. Yeah, but seriously, it's definitely a concern. So I would say a lot of challenges. And again, I'm not even considering the quantum computing. So in that moment, I would say that the human factor is fundamental for any validations. So even when we talk about biometrics, also the way of we can validate process physically. So I imagine also have a substitution of what you remember. Now we used to use some years ago the tokens, for the banks and everything. Now we receive the OTP, but something maybe for the quantum computing something that might include the human factor in the middle as validation. I mean, not only
Right.
biometrics, but also some physical, tangible parts of us that might be definitely a game changer, something that might enhance the overall security. The block, the security of the metaverse starts now, but the more we look ahead, the bigger the challenges will be. So we need to be ready for that.
And I also feel with ever evolving tech or anything, we have always, like, we know for the fact that AI can, it's kind of dangerous. But for the power, as well as all over the world, people want more power. And with tech, they get power. That's why they flood in this tech, whether it's metaverse, whether it's quantum computing. China and US are potentially fighting for the supercomputer for them to have control over the world, right?
Yeah.
So that means that we'll have to find a solution. It is not going to stop. That's for sure. I mean, metaverse, Web3, crypto, it is not going to stop. You can see Bitcoin going down, whatever, but technology is adapted by seeing the companies and all everything. So I feel the solution will come on its own or the way, or don't know. We cannot predict the future.
Digital identity, and again, this is another misconfused concept around, because there are people who use digital identity as mere record of data validated by an institution, and then we have blockchain based digital identity, which is
Yes.
what we used to call the real digital identity. Now the problem is, because sometimes also the government in Italy, they call the digital identity the mere record of our data, basically in an informatics system. But if we are referring to the blockchain one, the blockchain based, we have something that is definitely more secure than every other system. And again, when we
Yes.
talk about decentralization, we talk about being owners of your data, and this is what is the meaning of, also among other things, of Internet 3.0, is that you create you share and you own. So we don't have a client-based architecture anymore. We have peers, and the mere fact that this architecture is there empowers the users. You are now owner of your data. You can
Yes.
either keep your data, you can or sell your data. You can monetize your data, and this is an interesting case also in the healthcare because every time, at least in Europe, but I believe it's in all the world, every time you go for a medical check, they get your blood, and then they sell all your data to companies for research or for example, anti-cancer research. And I believe is a nice thing to do. But at the same time, it's also sold to companies who take profit on experimentation on animals and other things. And people might disagree with this kind of choice. So why to not give the possibility to users through the digital identity, which are after all non-fungible tokens, to either keep their data or to sell them. So I want to be free, and Internet 3.0 is exactly there. So digital identity is there, and actually the only challenges we can face is basically to secure the ledgers. Once we have ledgers secure from that point of view, those tokens will be basically parts and of our identity in the Web3, in the Internet 3.0. That might be the Metaverse or basically a normal browser. So that's an important consideration to do, definitely.
Yeah, and also in the metaverse, or that digital identity, a lot of refugees from different countries, they didn't have those, they don't have a passport to show. I mean, when they're traveling, I mean, I've seen when Palestine, Israel, what happened, Syria, they didn't have the passport to show. At least a blockchain based identity can be easily seen, or it cannot go away. So I
Sure.
feel it can also help humanity in some or the other way.
Exactly. No, we have a lot of business cases and also humanitarian cases. So can help in terms of logistics, in terms of causes. And it's also interesting, just to recall you, is we have a lot of interesting models now that are raising. For example, we have the move to earn, the donate to earn, or the
Play
play.
to earn, yeah, right.
Later, but an important model I was thinking about last day, why to not create, and again, we throw here another idea for the founders, is why to not create something that's help to earn. So let us create something that helps you to monetize cryptos by helping others. So you connect more people, and those people have a need. You have someone
Wow,
willing to help.
that's amazing. Yeah.
That would be, imagine you can change the world, because if a person does not help others because of religion or because of morality, at least is motivated by money. So if that would work, at least for the 10% of humanity, we have solved the majority of our problems. So it's definitely would be interesting, definitely, to see something like this.
Yeah, I mean, nobody, I don't know about people thinking, they're thinking either you can take care of your health, walk and earn, or, do these fitness things or play to earn. But nobody's thinking in that, way, that humanitarian way. I mean, people show NFT projects is about, donation or helping. I don't see, I mean, so many projects doing amazing about the whole concept. If you see Bored Ape Yacht Club, it's successful because of its hype. It is not successful that it is going to help some or the other way. Now
Yeah.
big brands are going into it. So yeah, that can be one of the possible scenarios if people start thinking like this. Like, that's a very good point you mentioned.
Yeah,
So
that's yeah.
moving forward, when you talk about metaverse or web3, what you would want to do in this space in future? Like, you've been a project manager, you've been into growth hacking. So what are you catering, or what is in your head about you with the web3 world?
Well, at the moment is as mere observer and as market analyst, but for the sake of my curiosity, as far as my job is concerned, is a little bit different. But I'm trying, and I will try to also to raise the awareness of these topics also inside the firm internationally. And so basically, it's something that I would look at potentially also in business terms. So again, try to bring this to the company and try to work on engagements based on this kind of topics. Because after all, if you look at major financial institutions, the government, the tourism sector, and the healthcare, they are largely and massively adopting these solutions. And sometimes it's not even provided by big companies, by big names like Big Four consulting services, but also by startups. So this creates a fair competition. That's also another beauty of Internet 3.0. There is no giant. There is no how can I say monopoly. So now we have equal and fair. How can I say it's more democratic. It's a more democratic market, definitely. So that's what I believe.
And
So I
yeah,
see
I
myself.
feel, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so I see myself definitely in this context somehow to touch these topics and to be hands-on um, as as consultant, basically.
Yeah, and I feel that's a great opportunity, as well as when you see these topics floating around. I wrote a book about NFTs, the
Wow.
NFT saga. I've still not did. I've just written a book and I have not even made a page on it because of my podcast and of my content and working with my companies. So when I wrote the book, I felt uh, it was my first book. It was very difficult to write 10,000 words, but I understood the fact that responsibility in me of telling the world or spreading awareness and consuming knowledge about something which is a possible scenario in future, just because
Mm,
of anything you see around. If you see in India also, there is a lot of corruption. It's not easy way out. If you see what's happening with Russia and Ukraine war going on, if you see all of this going madness going around, there is only one hope which people think, and they brought in Web3, or that's how the brain function. And when you say decentralized, I see there are a lot of companies, they say it's decentralized, but the number of tokens is with the person. They can
yeah,
do whatever. So it's totally not decentralized, but it is just better than the previous system. And we are able to trust not a single human, we are able to trust thousands of them now, just
exactly.
by you know so I feel it's like when I started into it, I didn't want it to, I did NFT projects, marketing, made content also, a lot of those things. But I feel what you mentioned in the end, to have the knowledge, and like startups or a lot of companies would go to to help them, just because of this knowledge and this awareness, to help them transform their Web2 company into Web3 company.
Mm,
Because it's going to take balls to change Web2 to Web3. But if you see, small players will make a difference in those scenarios. Big people, they will try to remove themselves away for the revenues, but they will ultimately have to catch up. So till
yeah.
that time, awareness and knowledge can play a beautiful role.
Exactly. Beautiful. I like the choice of your words because it's actually very noble also to spread that awareness because prepares historically to that market massive adoption. So you're somehow evangelizing, no, the people and the stakeholder, the market players. So that's definitely one of the best parts. Actually, I agree with you.
So yeah, I mean, I've always taken that road, and I thought to myself that it is something very important right now to gauge and feel about what's happening in the world. And while you can only talk about things in your company, but to just have the reference point about metaverse and Web3. And also now, this reminds me that you mentioned about meta humans while you were talking. When you say meta humans, do you mean virtual influencer or virtual human? Or
No,
you
no.
say avatars of Giorgio and Avtarit?
Yeah. Okay.
Avatars.
Yeah. Let me explain. So basically, um, I believe that it's a weird world to be honest, because probably it's the
Right.
fanciest part of the metaverse, and the meta humans is probably the most fascinating part because just the word meta humans makes you think about movies of half man, half
Yes.
robot, right?
Yes.
So there is
Sci-fi.
the hype is also generated by that because we are fascinated, we are enthusiasts of this. Now we have so far. Uh, let's start with the idea that we want our representation. So we have, since the gaming industry is there, we have avatars, we interchangeable characters. So where we can consider the skins of the avatars, the type of dress or the type of accessories they wear, like tokens, because basically this is how they start up with avatars based business model are realizing profit. So basically, sell the avatar. You have your avatar. You can put it in your video game. You can bring it, and you can import all the data, and you can buy their skins, meaning their clothes. For example, you want to buy, I don't know, some glasses. You just buy 0.0001 Ethereum, and you have got this one. So basically, avatars is in the present. What in the future will be MetaHumans and digital humans. Now, we have two parallel lines. I've studied very deeply this part of the market because I've been also collaborating with a digital human-based startup, and I can tell you that the current difficulty, the current challenge for the digital humans is represented by the techniques of 3D reconstruction. So basically, how does it work? I want to put yourself in the metaverse, and I want to recognize you in the metaverse. It means I need to create a high realistic avatar, correct? So I have the same logic of the avatar, but instead of being, a cartoonish and not
Oh,
realistic, I have you. You look there. So how can I do it? I need to work on the 3D reconstruction. I 3D scan your face with all the sensors,
okay.
and I don't know if you have ever seen those cells with a lot of panels and a lot of things. And so basically, I scan your features. Then there is
Yeah,
a
I have seen
you,
that. I've
yeah,
seen
and
this back end of the Hollywood movies, while they, I don't know, that blue things. I don't know.
yeah. In the other case is more, for example, when they want to substitute the person with something else.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
as far as the digital humans are concerned, you basically have the mapping of your features, and then there is a huge, a massive amount of post production. For that, you need 3D artists. So it's not enough to have a computer and to have a software running on that. There's different softwares used for that, but you need the digital and 3D artist that will adjust your feature based on your current feature. So it's like a sculpture, right? So they will do manually. After that, the model can also be trained with more data if available. This is already an advanced thing, and they finally export all the data. I can mention one startup which might be worth it for you to follow is Replica with B. It's a Netherlands-based startup founded by Mao Lin Liao. My friend is a friend of mine. Is Chinese from China. Asian genius, as I was mentioning. Indians and Chinese people are always the brightest ones, and he's doing incredible things. He will launch soon another startup, and they're doing exactly this. So they aim to become a meta-humans provider. So once we reach that level, and again, we connect to what we said with the metaverse. Once we reach that level, we have a complete metaverse, because now it's childish, it's cartoonish, it's not realistic. What if you
Yes,
can
right.
you can 3D scan your city, you can 3D scan the people, and you have, with your 3D visual, VR and AR, you have contacts, which is totally, there is no difference between that and the real reality. Uh,
Man.
which is also somehow creepy and scary from certain points of view, because this might also lead, and we did not consider this. We consider only the legal and the technological challenges, but there are also psychological and social implications on this. So definitely, I already imagine that the psychology will need to adapt their theories also to the technological. A little bit how it happened with the advent of social media. If you remember, people started to stay at home more on the social media, and psychologists were developing more theories about internet, the psychology of internet. I think we will have something similar. In this sense, Internet 3.0 and the metaverse will be game changers also. So it's gonna change humanity in a not necessarily bad or good, but it's gonna definitely change also the way we approach to machine and the way we approach to people.
Okay, and do you have when you were saying this, there is this word humane. There's a startup, or there is. Have you heard of the word humane? They're
Uh,
doing the same thing. I don't know. Just
yeah. Basically, yeah. There are different ideas also out there, because some of them were doing not only high realistic digital humans and meta humans, but I will make even a step more. Some of them have I made this hypothesis of creating a blockchain environment, which means cannot be manipulated. You cannot delete anymore how can I say, parts of it, part of the ledger. You cannot delete one box without the consensus of the 51% of the community. And imagine you have your digital human representing you, fed with artificial intelligence based algorithms, getting big data through IoT and enabled by the connectivity of 5G, where the model every day on live basis can collect data from your smartphone, your smartwatch, your smart glasses,
Yeah,
from your
smart
computer,
wearables. Yeah.
yeah, from all the devices, and feed this model, and can also reconstruct your behavior. Now, there is, just want to raise this. This is just a provocation, right? Now, what happens when the person will pass away? There is no way to delete that model. And imagine if you train that model for a couple of years, you're living, and while you live, you're training that model without doing anything because it keeps receiving data. The model, your MetaHumans, your digital replica in the metaverse, which is blockchain based, will live technically forever. Now, this might raise some ethical and moral concerns, but if you think about it, and I was noticing yesterday, when we miss someone, sometimes we go to watch the photos, right? When we miss our beloved ones who unfortunately passed away, we go to watch the photos. We are changing also that paradigm. So from watching a photo from a two-dimensional, we are approaching to something that is more almost living there with us. This is also the concept of deep fakes and etc. So it's scary, to be honest. It's something that needs to be controlled, and it's a little bit creepy, but there is anything so far that will prevent this to happen. Not only from the legal point of view or moral point of view, but also from the technological. And that's something that might happen. It's it's likely that will happen definitely. So some startups have already started to make hypotheses on this, but I believe this will happen soon.
Yeah, and in fact, I saw a documentary about this. There was this Russian guy who's making himself a meta-human, and he said in 2030 I'll not be there. And there's a lot of company they're coming up with it, and in 2045, 2045, he will come as a meta-human.
Hmm.
All. So I think I have seen a documentary somewhere. I don't remember the name, but I'll
Yeah.
definitely send you the link, because when I saw that, it's the same thing what you're talking about, 3D mapping and everything. And then this is company who's his company, and he's raised funds and he's ready to die. That's why he's saying this will happen, and I'll make sure I'll do it on myself first, and I'll die, and you can see for yourself,
Yeah.
because I'll be there anyways. So
Yeah.
it was really scary, exciting at the same
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
then you're you're thinking to yourself that someday, it's been some days I was reading an article, you can biohack your body, and then you can see why to biohack, you can stay there. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much happening around the tech that you don't know. And certainly I think when you spoke about quantum computing, that in 9 years, even they can delete the ledger transactions, and I'm like scared now again. So don't know where it's going. I mean, clearly tech is kind of devastating, dangerous, but totally exciting at the same time.
Yeah, we are in an inflationary phase of technology, and these are historically also the most dangerous phases, because now there is hype, there is enthusiasm, there is desire and keenness to do things, but in on the path along the path we might forget about our real priorities. I was thinking about last day. So we are building layers and layers and layers of technology, where we consider extremely rich a person with I don't know, let's say 100 bitcoins. Actually, today a person with 100 bitcoins is billionaire. Actually, right? So it's something that would make you happy and rich, of course. But then I was thinking, what if tomorrow we have a shortage of water, a shortage of energy, the sun is not there? So we're building layers on layers on layers and forgetting what are the real assets. So I totally push for the enthusiasm and for the innovation, the creation, but we shall always think that innovation is really functional to the real assets. So shall always be backed by real assets and shall be compatible, as you said. shall embrace also the environmental cause, shall be carbon free, shall be environmental friendly. Because a future without this is mere abstraction with no adherence to the reality, and which is not only non-productive, but it's also counterproductive. So it's something that's we should look at it in this way. But as long as it is functional to the business and has a positive impact on people and on the business itself, I encourage. As long as again is not something immoral or not who hurts other people or animals or the nature.
Okay, that's a well said thing, because sustainability and humanitarian, and what say, we have a lot of money, we have a lot of bitcoins, but we don't have
Yeah,
water. What if we
yeah,
ran out of water? I
yeah,
mean, water, people are fighting for water, people are fighting for oxygen. It's not even there. You have Bitcoin, but you don't have that. So,
yeah,
yeah, totally. You never know what crisis can come along the way while you're building tech and you are thinking more about, you know, the tech. Like India is a agricultural country. We have like 50% of agriculture. We depend on agriculture. We make our own food and everything. But when you see agro based country, people from agriculture, they change their ways and come to these startups and started working there. So shift can happen because they are getting paid there, they're
yeah,
having a good household there, they're leaving their farms.
yeah,
So food will run out of that thing, they'll be having issues there. So
yeah.
I mean, it's totally an important thing to think about, and how we need to take this forward.
True.
Also, we've talked enough about tech and how it shapes out. I wanted to also talk about you as a person. I mean, it's also important to understand that your journey must have gone through a lot of, let's say, failures, fears, or self doubts, insecurities, vulnerabilities, which people don't talk out easily. And I feel that is the real essence of why you want to talk. I mean, you see a lot of, like you said, deep fakes going on, a lot of. But when I talk about you as a person, how, where you are right now, how much failures you had to go through, would you like to throw some light on that?
Yes, absolutely. Because I want to remark this. Our life is made of 99 failures and one success. We
Right.
fail those 99 times because we need to learn. So that's for the right moment when God allows, we are ready. We don't need to look. We need to understand that life is a process, right? So when we fail, is always teaching us something. There is no failure. There is only learning. Correct. So you are focused on that 1% that occur 1% of the time. So we were saying that basically life is made of a lot of failures that teach you how to reach and to grab what you want by God permission. So you need definitely discipline, you need patience, you need altruism and help each other, because there is nothing better than be surrounded by good energy, and the good energy comes from a person smiling to you, being grateful to you, a person that has been succeeding also because you contributed to that person. So I would say that being positive, being always competitive, but always in a healthy competition context. So never be jealous with an unproductive way. It's good to be jealous if you're say, oh, I want to improve myself. So I look at someone and say, oh, I want to be like that guy. That is absolutely good, as long as you don't wish him bad just because you want to go up. So it's a mutual growth. And personally, have been through the majority of my life, personally, majority have been defeats, have been unsuccessful events, but eventually this brought me here, in which was the place that I've been praying to be in for 1 year. So I've been praying for 1 year, God to be here, and this was exactly what I wanted. But I worked hard for that, and I think this is something, a message that I would like to convey. It's important to work hard, to be positive, to have patience, to have faith in yourself, in God, and also to again to help others and be surrounded by good energy. There is nothing, no secret formula. There is no equation. There is any superhero. We are just people with weaknesses. Majority of us have mainly weaknesses. The strongest of us has 80% of weaknesses and 20% of strength. And it's beautiful also to value our weaknesses, and we have to accept ourselves for who we are. After all, we've been created for this, and we are beautiful because we are who we are. Basically, we are unique in our way.
Yeah, I mean, very well mentioned. And in fact, you are talking about gratitude, and just by showcasing your side, that these are normal things. But when you talk about them in a bunch of group, why are we always constantly trying to be pretentious? I mean, most of majority of people, in fact me myself, sometimes tend to be pretentious because of the society around, and it is very difficult. The gratitude thing and is great, I mean, and helping others, not thinking in a revengeful way. For if you feel that person is good enough, you want to be like that, it's fine. But your competition is with your own self. I mean, that's a very good way to look at it. But I feel when you go out there, when you go out there to perform at your job, you want to be the best, you want to do great things. But when it comes to your way of looking at things, most of people, it's difficult to be not pretentious. They try to fit in the society, or fit in their somewhere. So I mean, how do you think youth listening to us, all over the world, wherever they are, what do you think from your career so far, if you have to give them some or the other advice on these topics, whether it's empathy, whether it's gratitude, or whether it's competition with themselves, what would you say to them, in this crazy uh, world where they are just going out there to perform and earn money? It's more about being successful and not talking about failures.
Well, I would approach in two different ways. Actually, I believe that if we live in a better world, we can all be successful. That's the first success. Then I would say, if someone is very competition oriented, really wants to be the top, the number one, which is in general is a good thing, but needs to be fair for a well specific reason. If you help your competitor to succeed, you need to enhance even more your level, and he will enhance his level, driving to a competition that will take you, who are competing against your competitor, to become better every time. This will push you towards your good.
Hmm.
And again, creating a better world is a matter of small actions on daily basis. Sometimes we might be nervous, sometimes we might run out of patience and so on, but sometimes a small word can help. And this can break all the layers, the fake layers of ego we have. Just a sorry, just you were right. I ask you apologies. And so this is something that we shall understand. Sometimes we are too much focused on building things that we forget who we are and who are the people. And we shall think that in that person there is a similar way to see things. After all, we have to ask ourselves the question, would I be hurt if that person would say the same thing that I told to him or to her? So we need to understand and to look from all the perspectives. That's the easiest way to overcome this problem. Because again, after all, we are all here temporarily. We are born here. We are put in a reality. We see the life and the colors and lights for the first time. We get shocked. So even now in this moment we are living, but what does it mean we are living? We are getting habit to an environment that was new to us because we were not here, and then eventually we will die, we'll pass away, and what will count will be, at least here in this life, the memory that we left,
Right.
the good we spread. That person was very good toward others.
I mean,
Sure.
I love talking to you, and I'm thankful to you that you are opening up, and you are not scared to not showcase your vulnerable side, which is one way of accepting ourselves. So, thank you so much for being on the show, Giorgio.
Thank you, Avtarit. Thank you so much. Appreciate your show, high quality show, and I wish to have a new interesting chat with you. And I'm available for any new episode of this brilliant podcast.
Enjoyed the podcast. Keep learning, keep growing, have that self belief strong, and keep listening to Deep Talk with Avtarit. Do like, subscribe, and shares as I bring you a lot of people from different kind of fields to talk unfiltered on my show Deep Talk with Avtarit.